Right, that's what I'm saying. So even just because you say black people, that doesn't mean it was your people.
Now, what makes them my people?
You're saying now, what makes people of color? Now, there's people of color all around the world.
Right.
Cambodians, Cambodians black, brother?
Some of them.
Yes. So what this brother trying to do is play games. Okay, you got two extremes of people, and everybody else falls in between, and that's a fact. You have the woolly-haired people, and you have the straight-haired people. Okay, you have the black-skinned people, you have the white-skinned people, you have the dark-eyed people, you have the colored-eyed people. You dig what I'm saying? You have people with black woolly hair, you have people with blonde and black straight hair. You have the stratum, and the extreme is the black man to one extreme and the white man to the other extreme, and everybody else falls in between, brother. So when you ask me, are the Cambodians black? Then I'm going to have to say, when you look at when you chart it off based on the extremities that I just gave you, then yes, they are black, and that's the way I explain it, and that's what I mean when I say it. Now, what you mean is some other bullshit, brother, which is just as weightless as a fucking feather.
Cambodians are people of color, bro. They have brown skin.
Yes, but anyway, when you talk about me, okay,
hold on, don't just say but anyway, because this is what I'm talking about.
But you asked me how did I make myself a connection, I'm finna make a genetic connection. Okay, the history matches up. My DNA matches up, brother.
See down in the corner where it say Mozabite, Berber, Morocco, Algeria, Guinea-Bissau, Mozabite, Berber, Guinea-Bissau, African Spanish, Guinea-Bissau, that's the Portuguese lineage, Cape Verde. All these areas where Israelites has been. All these areas have strong history of black Israelites. But these people want to ask me what's my connection. I got several overlapping genetic markers, bro. Okay? Now we want to talk about two groups of people historically who my genetic people say who I line up with. The Mozabite people are a Berber ethnic group inhabiting Mozab, natural region in the northern Sahara in Algeria. They speak Mozabite, Tambazit, one of the Zenati languages in the Berber branch of the Afro-Asiatic family. Many also speak Maghrebi Arabic as a second language. Mozabites are primarily Ibadi Muslims, but there's a small population of Jews as well. It is not canonically agreed when Jews first came to southern Algeria, but one theory suggests that they were sent by the Abadite leadership in the 14th century to Tunisia as part of the merchant trade route. They continued as a merchant community with subsequent waves of immigrants during times of anti-Semitism across the Sahara, Europe, and the Middle East. In 1881, 1 year before the French annexed the Mozab, there were estimated 3,000 Mozabite Jews out of 30,000 Algerian Jews by 1921. I claim descent from both of those, the Algerian Jews and the Mozabite Jews. And later, the latter number grew to 7 54,000, a result in the spike anti-Semitism in the later 1800s. This is late as the 1800s. They still there. There was much more in the history. And in early 1900s, but the Mozabite Jewish communities still remain small, with most Jewish migrants settling in the north. With anti-Semitism on the rise in the late 1800s, the French colonial powers sought to decrease Jewish commerce in the South and prevent Jewish collaboration with Muslim communities. They continued to distance the Mozabite Jews from other Algerian Jewish affairs by keeping Mozabite or Mosaic law for civil matters and French indigenous law for the public and criminal matters. It was not until 1961 that the French National Assembly, Law 61-805, that the Mozabite Jews were granted common law status with French citizenship. Berber Jews are the Jewish communities of the Maghreb in North Africa who historically spoke Berber languages. Between 1950 and 1970, most immigrated to France, the United States, and Israel. Jews have settled in the Maghreb since at least the 3rd century BC. According to one theory, which is based on a 14th century writing of Arab philosopher Ibn Khaldun and was influential during the 20th century, Berbers adopted Judaism from these arrived Jews before the Arab conquest of North Africa. So we got an establishment that Judaism was in North Africa before the Arab conquest. For example, French historian Eugene Albertini dates the Judaization of certain Berber tribes and their expansion from Tripoli to the Saharan oasis to the end of the 1st century. So we see that they're confused and they're arguing about when the conversion took place, but they never can say who converted them. Marcel Simon was, for his part, sees the first point of contact between the Western Berbers and Judaism in the Great Jewish Rebellion of 66 to 70 AD. Some historians believe, based on the writings of Ibn Khaldun and other evidence, that some or all of the ancient Judaized Berber tribes later adopted Christianity and afterwards Islam, which means before they were, all of the ones that you see were Muslims, were Christians, and prior to them being Christians, they were Judaized Berber tribes. Okay, so they were Jews first, and it is not clear if they were part of the ancestry of contemporary Berber speaking Jews. And it said it is not clear if they are not a part of the ancestry of contemporary Berber speaking Jews. According to Joseph Tetrich, recent research has shown weakness in the evidence supporting Ibn Khaldun's statement and seems to support scholars' hypothesis that Jews came to North Africa from ancient Israel after a stay in Egypt and scattered progressively from east to west, from the Middle East to the Atlantic in the Hellenic Roman period.
Hey y'all, what up, what up, what up? This is Yasha Ben Yishrael. All right. I got a book here for you, old book. I had this book, man, for years, man. I've had this book 20, 30 years, man. I've had a long, long time. This book is called The Golden Age of the Moors. You can see it's edited by Ivan van Sertima. It's a book by many different by many different authors. It's a compilation work. This here was an autograph, says to Yasha Ben Yishrael by Ronoko Rashidi, January 1st, 2017. Okay. I want to read something here. I want to read something here. Move that out the way there. And this chapter is called The Moors in Antiquity by James E. Brunson and Runoko Rashidi, which is the guy who signed the autograph.
So I got a historical connection.
I want to go to page 60.
And genetic connection. And ethical and
look at some of the artwork here. Black Moors. Moors and Arabs confronting Christians. But that's a 350 in 350 AD. So you got the Black Moors and the Arabs here, blacks, all black folks, and they're confronting the Christians here. Now, for those who says that the Jews never existed, there was never a people in history called the Jews or anything like that, let me read some of the work of great real scholars like James Bronson and Runoko Rashidi. The Sahaja Berbers of the Western Sahara were composed of both sedentary people and nomads, including amongst the nomad Sanhaja were the Lamta and Lamtuna Berbers, which are black folks. The Sanhaja, known as the Malatuman, or the people of the Veil, were responsible for the second significant Moorish invasion of El-Andalus, the Arabic name for Islamic Spain. It is saying that the Sanhaja were the people that was responsible for the second invasion of Spain, El-Andalus. In 1095 AD, the Sanhaja Berbers initiated the Almoravid dynasty. I told y'all that it was the Jews who called in the Arabs. It was the Jews that ran the Moorish Empire, and they called in the Arabs for help. You dig? The Sanhaja Berbers, again, initiated the Almoravid dynasty. The Almoravid dynasty was called the Empire of the Two Shores. It lasted 100 years and stretched from the Senegal River to the west, in West Africa, to the Ebro River in the northern Spain. There has been much discussion and speculation about the Sanhaja face mufflers. In Islamic Spain, the veil was considered a privilege of the true Almoravids, and its wearing was forbidden to all but the Sanhaja. It was something like a uniform or distinctive dress of the ruling class, according to Ibn Hawkel. Since the day they were created, their faces have never been seen, unless it be their eyes. This is because they muffle their faces when they are young, and they grow up with that custom. According to al-Bukhari, in 1078 AD, there were amongst the Sanhaja Berbers blacks professing Judaism. According to al-Bukhari, in 1078 AD, there were amongst the Sanhaja Berbers blacks professing Judaism. Bronson Rashidi. According to al-Bukhari, 1078 AD, there were amongst the Sanhaja Berbers blacks professing Judaism. These blacks were referred to as the Balfour. The Balfour practiced Judaism before they were overcome and absorbed by the Almoravids. This is crazy, y'all. This is crazy.
Because this is what I'm talking about.
But you ask me, matches up, brother. My
Matches
DNA
up with what?
My DNA says, and you can go on my webpage and see it, that I am a descendant of the Mozabite.
And he knows this. That's why he's prepared to talk to me. He went on my page, he checked it out. This is why he asked me what language do they speak, trying to catch me up. You understand what I'm saying? To say he was trying to say that they don't speak Hebrew, and I was proving that they did. But they did speak the Zenati languages, because the Zenati, the Sanhaja, the Zanata are all the same people, and the Senegalese people are all the same people. And you can see right now that the Senegalese are black. They have a black Jewish population called the Beni Israel. We just explained to you how many of them were Jews first, and they went to Islam. You understand what I'm saying? We have much evidence of that, so I have much evidence to back up what I'm saying. This guy has nothing to back up what he's saying. It's just all demagogic rhetoric.
My bloodline goes back to Morocco, Algeria, all of Northern Africa, brother, Ganaya Basu, brother, and Cape Verde.
And it's all of
brother,
the areas. There's no DNA that says if you go back to Morocco, Algeria, that you're a Jew, bro. All type of people were in Morocco and Algeria.
Well, we just explained the genetic evidence. It's not about what this guy say. It's about what my genetic evidence say. My genetic evidence says that I'm a Mozabite. The history of the Mozabites say that they were Jews who converted to Christianity, who later converted to Islam, brother. So there's a connection there. You can try to gaslight this connection, but I'm trying to tell you that there's a connection there, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can say about it. There's no way you can explain it away.
And they wasn't Jews. There's no Jewish or Israelite DNA.
Well, you have done a terrible job explaining this, brother. You have done a very, very, very terrible job explaining that there is not no Jewish DNA. I mean, a horrible job. And I'm going to show you. We got it right here clearly from Wikipedia. The article from Wikipedia, it states that the EM215 and the EM35 are quite common amongst Afro-Asiatic speakers. The linguistic group and carriers of EM35 lineage have a high probability to have risen and dispersed together from the Afro-Asiatic hermit. He's saying they're not African, but there's Afro-Asiatic amongst populations with an Afro-Asiatic speaking history. And a significant proportion of Jewish male lineages are EM35. Again, a significant proportion of Jewish male lineages are EM35. Haplogroup EM35, which accounts for approximately 18% to 20% of the Ashkenazis and 8.6% to 30% of the Sephardi chromosomes, appear to be one of the major founding lineages in the Jewish population. The Ashkenazis have approximately 20 to 30% E1B1B, which falls mostly under the Sephardic clades of EM123. So we have the EM215 and the EM35 is E1B1A, and the EM123 is the E1B1B. So this is the E1B1A and the E1B1B, which makes it clear that the E1B1A appears to be one of the major founding lineages of the Jewish population. So he could tell these lies all he wants to. The genetic report says different.
Well, all you got to do is, if you would like to know, go on my webpage, and there is DNA that Jewish people, basically the Mozabite people are said to have the E1B1A, which is the marker that they look for in Jewish people.
No, it's not, bro.
Yes, it is, brother. Yes, it is.
Brother, E1B1A is damn near half a brother.
And B, brother.
E1B1B is damn near half of Africa, bro.
Which is besides the point. It didn't start in Africa. There's no genetic proof the E1B1A started in Africa. No geneticist says that. This just that's where the genetic reports that the E1B1A started in the Levant, and from the Levant it entered into Africa. We have proof and evidence that it entered into Africa. Not that it came out of Africa. You understand what I'm saying? Because there's no genetic evidence of Africa, because Africa is a tropical climate, and geneticists have a problem with connecting and extracting the DNA from those dried out bones, and those bones that are subject to the climate. And the climate makes it very impossible for them to do genetic testing on the ancient on how old these genetic memories, genetics is in Western Africa. So it is a lie that the E1B1A started in Western Africa. Here's a government source from ncbi.nlm.nih.gov. This is a governmental report, and it validates everything that I have had said about. You can look this up for yourself. This tells you everything about the history. You can even slow the page down if you want to. These are all sources. It's only going to take about 3 minutes, people, just so you can have your sources. I'm about giving the information to the people. You can pause it and read it. I'm going to take you through every page you need to get to. And all of this information suggests that the E1B1A started in the Levant and not in Africa. There's no evidence at all that the E branches started in Africa. Okay? There's evidence that it ended. You don't start a thing with a conclusion. You just don't do that, people. I got about another minute of showing y'all this information. So this guy didn't beat me. He wasn't better than me in no debate. He didn't win. There's nothing out there to prove all of that demagogic rhetoric is real. It's just nothing more than demagogic rhetoric. Rebel rousing, you know. It's nothing more than solipsistic demagogic rhetoric that lacks moral and cultural relativism. So we have probably about 30 more seconds left, maybe. You know, that's so you can slow it down and you can read it all slow if you don't want to go to the page. All of this tell you that the E1B1A came from the Levant. And that's for real. Now, Garfield has asked Razib Khan, which is one of the leading geneticists in the world, you know, he asked him about, is there any papers or any proof of E1B1A starting in Western Africa? And he told him that he thought that that was a ridiculous question. You know, he thought the question was a very unintelligent question to ask, you know. So let's listen to what Razib Khan had to say about these guys gaslighting and try to act as though E1B1A or E1B1B or any of the E branches got its origin in Africa. It is a lie. There's nobody saying that but the liar.
Give them a sense of that. Does that make sense? So, I'm not going to try to say it's a total art, but in the beginning in particular, they didn't have that much data, they didn't have that many results, so they could just look at it and just kind of assign it. Now we have like tens of millions, hundreds of millions of haplogroups, in the world. And so we have this original scaffold classification, and people are fitting it into it. And when you see the new updated labels and these personal genomic companies like ISOG, they have it.
Did you hear when he started off saying that they don't have that much data? He's talking about in Western Africa, okay? And he's going to tell you why. He's going to say it again in case you didn't get it, like a good scholar does.
Give them a sense of that. Does that make sense? So, I'm not going to try to say it's a total art, but in the beginning in particular, they didn't have that much data, they didn't have that many results, so they could just look at it and just kind of assign it.
You hear him right there? He just said clearly that they don't have enough data. You understand what I'm saying? So anybody acting like they do are lying. There's no data of E1B1A in Western Africa. That is a lie.
E1B1A, indigenous to Western Asia. Yeah. I saw this, I've seen some of these. These are actually, pretty deep questions in terms of, I think they will be answered. So if there's one issue is...
Can you hear him right there? He just said that that was a crazy question, okay? He said that these are crazy questions because that's not an intelligent question to ask. And you can see he asked the question, because he's looking for evidence that E1B1A started in Western Africa, so that's what he's looking for, and he's not going to find that. Watch this. Lex Vortex is not there, so what you're saying, there's no evidence on what you got to say.
Positing a mass migration of the E1B1A out of the Western Asia into West Africa. That's the first part of the question. The second part is E1B1A indigenous to Western Asia? Yeah. I saw this, I've seen some of these. These are actually, pretty deep questions in terms of, I think they will be answered. So if there's one issue is tropical areas in general, we have not that much ancient DNA. And then also there's some political reasons. So, for example,
tropical areas in general, we do not have that much DNA, people. Okay, and now he's going to explain the political conditions of Iraq and why they don't have evidence of Iraq. He was trying to accumulate evidence to use against me in the debate, and he couldn't find none. You understand? This brother just told him there's no evidence for E1B1A in Iraq. There's no evidence in Africa because the tropical conditions wouldn't allow you in Africa, and the political conditions wouldn't allow you in Iraq. So therefore, there's no evidence that the E1B1A started in Iraq or in Africa. But he does have significant evidence that it started in Levant.
there's not that much ancient DNA out of Iraq. That's not because it's not dry and it's good. You know what I'm saying? There's not that much ancient DNA out of Iraq because, we messed up Iraq. Researchers don't want to go into Iraq and get kidnapped or something, right? So there's, political issues going on there. In Africa, like in a lot of tropical Asia, when it's wet and it's humid, DNA degrades and cutting it's harder. David Reich's lab, I know they have some stuff that's coming out delayed by COVID. They've got stuff out of caves in Cameroon here and there. But we have a lot of data in Europe because it's cold and some parts of it were dry, especially the north, during the Ice Age. We have not that much data out of West Asia. We've got some. And with very little out of Africa, tropical Asia, right?
So they have very little evidence, okay, in Africa for certain. Okay, and he told you why, because of the tropical conditions. All right, let's go.
And so some of these questions that you're asking, I can't give a really good answer because we don't have enough data. What I will say
The
is
stupid questions.
there are connections between Africa and West Africa and Eurasia, Southwest Eurasia in particular, Mediterranean, West Asia.
Now he talking about the E1B1A. That's what they're talking about.
People are just exploring. So initially, people used to think, well, Africa is the homeland of modern humans, and you use them as an outgroup, and you look at the Neanderthal admixture and blah, 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 using Africans as zero, right? But it turns out the Yoruba, who are...
And that's what Lex is doing. He's trying to do just what this brother is saying that people are doing. And he's going to explain to you just right now why you shouldn't do that. The last word he said was the Yoruba.
Are the original African populations that geneticists often use from the map and 1,000 genomes have a little bit of Neanderthal ancestry. Where'd that come from? I mean, almost certain.
Now, he said that the Yoruba had a little bit of Neanderthal in them. Now, what he's trying to say is that the E1B1A came from the Neanderthal, a Neolithic population of the Neptufians.
That's due to what we call Eurasian back migration. We call back migration because the original pulse was out of Africa.
Now, he's talking about the back migrations. He's talking about the Bantu expansions, where the E1B1A went back into Africa. But they don't have, that's a theory because they don't have no proof that it started in Africa to begin with.
But some Eurasians, almost certainly from West Eurasia, because you can tell that Africans look a little bit more like West Eurasians than they do, like, say, Chinese, okay? So they didn't come all the way from China. They came from where you would expect, probably the Middle East.
So he's saying that the people from Western Asia look more like Africans than, let's say, in particular, the Chinese. And he's correct.
It went into Africa. Like, when did they go to Africa? Some of them we know is relatively recent. So R1B88, that's in Chad. I'm working on that figure. That's clearly a Holocene. So it's within the last 12,000 years. Probably with, like, pastoralist or something like that. And there's low levels of, so the Y chromosome is high frequency, so the paternal lineage is preserved. But overall, they're pretty African. But now they have been able to detect appreciable levels of Eurasian ancestry, and that ancestry is higher in the groups that have more R1B. Okay, so we know that there was recent.
So he's saying that you could tell that these people are more African with the R1B. And not to come to Guerrillas Hebrew's defense, but when you're looking for the R1B inside of white people, that, according to Raziel Kwan, he said the R1B shows that these white people have more black genetics in them. So he's going there to show them that their thinking about DNA is backwards and is wrong.
Know that for sure. But a lot of researchers think that there was a connection to back migration pretty deep in the Pleistocene, pretty deep in the Ice Age, say like 15, 20, 30,000 years ago, right? And so when you say, so when you're asking about questions about E1, like haplogroup E in particular, I'm very, very fuzzy and not committal. There are E's that are found in the Natufians 10,000 years ago, right? So we know that it was in the Near East a long time ago. But we don't have enough data from Africa to say that, so here's a scenario, and this is not necessarily.
So he just made it clear that they just don't have enough evidence on the Neptufians. They know that they go back 10, 20, 30,000, maybe even 50,000 years ago. They know that, but that's all they have. They don't have no genetic evidence on it. So for this brother to be harping at me like he knows what the geneticist does not know is bullshit. It's nothing but demagogic rhetoric, again, like I stated.
Scenario, I believe, but it's a plausible scenario. You could have E1, the ancestor, say in the southern Sahara. It goes north at the end of the Ice Age, and then it diversifies with the agriculturalists, and then it comes back with some agriculturalists.
You see, he's keep talking about it goes out of Africa a long, long time ago. Okay, and then it starts to come back into Africa. And I'm saying, as it came back into the Africa, it came back by way of the Israelites, and that's what I'm saying. And the time and the history and the genetics of the Israelites match that story.
So how do I answer the question in that case, right? Because like we are positing from Spencer's original work, like geneticists used to think that, oh, you have the stepwise migration out of Africa and you never look back. That's not true at all. Like there's a lot of that migration in Africa. There's a few populations that have been only minimally impacted.
He said that y'all thinking what y'all thinking ain't true at all. There's been a lot of back E1B1A migrations into Africa. This is what the geneticists say. Anybody who disagree with him is the fool. And that brother Lex Vortex is disagreeing with the geneticists. He's the fool, not me.
By West Eurasian ancestry, but that's really low in terms of the numbers. So the Bluetooth pygmies, like Eastern pygmies, the Congo, and then maybe the Hadza, but even like Khoisan, Bushman people in South Africa, they have Cushitic ancestry.
Cushitic.
And that Cushitic ancestry has West Asian ancestry within it, right? So it's hard.
So even the Kushite ancestry have West Asian ancestry in it. So he talked about the R1B, the E1B1A, and the Cushitic ancestry, which is a different ancestry, and all of them have Western Asian in it. Okay, but they don't have no evidence about anything coming up out of Africa. So when they try to make like the E1B1A started in Africa, anybody who says that is lying. There's no evidence for that.
Separate these different groups. And so, like, I mean, you're asking about, like, in the questions, like, you're asking about these haplogroups that are found today in certain areas. And with some of them, I can like, give you a good answer. Most of the ancient DNA is pretty clear, and they're recent. But E1B, it seems pretty ancient in West Asia, but that doesn't.
Now he's talking about the migrations. He said most of the migration patterns that they find are pretty recent. So all of this stuff about the Neptufian DNA, they haven't found ancient Neptufian DNA in them. They found the DNA of recent migration patterns going into Western Africa. Okay, so this is crazy what these people are talking about.
Necessarily mean that it's not ancient in Africa. We don't have the data. And it's at such high frequency in Africa, as you guys know. Like most, I mean, African hunter-gatherers have the other haplogroups, right? But African agriculturalists tend to be E. It could be a matter of what happened in Chad, where R1B, where there was like a small group of males whose lineages were really high status and they got diluted over time, and we see this in other areas. Recent paper out of Orkneys in Northern Europe, which shows Neolithic Y chromosomes, even though the rest of the genome was totally erased, with women coming in every generation from the continent, right? So you could imagine that's one scenario that you can posit, or you could imagine that the whole trans-Saharan zone, the contact zone, and that contact zone gave rise to multiple E branches. That's also plausible. I don't have a strong opinion about where the Semitic languages and stuff come from, or Afro-Asiatic, because I've talked to people, and nobody knows for sure at this point. It's very unclear. So that's not an answer to the question, but that's the truth, I think, at this point. All right, cool. So what's the...
So as you can see, people, there's nothing supporting what this man say. It's nothing but a bunch of gish, galloping, demagogic rhetoric. That's all it is. A barrage of half-truths and lies, trying to appeal to the motion of the masses. It's just a straightforward... His whole argument is based on fallacies, and he can't prove none of the things that he says like I can. The facts sides with Yasha every time. And anybody who go against the facts is the goddamn fool. So let's get back to the bullshit.
Half of Africa, bro. All over. The Egyptians had it.
Actually, it's not. But it is a lot of people in Africa that has that.
Bro, it's not. Hold on, bro.
And the thing about it, hold up. And the thing about it, what I'm trying to tell you is that
he just stated that the E1B, the E branches takes up over half of Africa, and actually it does not. We just heard Raziel Kwan just say different. He talked about a Chadic group, which was a R1B group. He talked about He talked about a Cushitic group, which was a different group from the E groups. So for him, there's Africa has such a broad genetic diversity. For him to say that the E branches take up half of Africa is a whole lie. It's just a whole lie, and he can't prove it. And once this video is released, it's his obligation to prove it. And I guarantee you that he cannot prove it.
My DNA connects me. Hold up, brother. My DNA connects me to the Mozabite. And it is a fact that the Mozabites are Jews, and there's no way around it, brother.
All right, what about the other people that's on this panel that their DNA don't go to the Mozabite?
Okay, well, but you asked me. I can't ask. You got to ask them about them. Now, when you ask me about me, I answer that question.
So
you asked me what was my connection, and I gave it to you.
So all Mozabites are Jews?
Originally, yeah. Before Islam, yeah.
No, brother.
Yes, brother. Yes, brother.
I can't do it.
Okay, hold on. Wait, Lex. Wait, hold on. The brother been trying to say something for the longest. I'm gonna let him say something real quick. Unmute your mic.
E1B1A has nothing to do
Wait. Just a few seconds. Let me see what he got to say.
What's the Mozabite?
Terry.
What the Mozabites do.
Unmute your mic. I'm giving you a chance.
Being a Mozabite,
He keep on coming on. He wanted to read something, I guess. But he keeps coming on. And he keeps unmute your mic. Yeah, he keeps typing in the chat, and his brother keeps saying that he want to say something, so I'm trying to give him a chance, but go ahead.
Yeah, E1B1A has nothing to do with being an Israelite. First of all, E1B1A, the whole E marker is way before even Adam would have existed. So that's what I'm saying. That's just simple. It has nothing to do with being an Israelite, bro. There's no geneticist in the world that tell you E1B1A has anything to do with anyone being an Israelite.
Well, you have to prove these things, brother. You just can't say it. You can't say that the E1B1A has nothing to do with Adam. Okay, when we're talking about genetics, then let's deal with the mitochondrial atom. That's something that you don't want to deal with because it'll crop your whole 7,000-year lie you just made up.
E1B1A, the E marker goes back like 70,000 years.
He said 70,000 years, but Raziel Kwan said 50,000 years. That's one lie. That's another lie on top of the many that he's told so far.
It probably even further. So it's like Abraham is like 1900 BC. Like this is just the ridiculous stuff I'm talking about. You see what I'm saying? Like
2300 BC.
What?
He's more like 2300 BC.
No, it's.
We'll get out of there. You see that? You got Albright and his followers claim that the biblical stories about the patriarch reflected the world of early second millennium BCE. Historians date Abraham biblical story around 2000 BC based on clues, not evidence or not proof, in Genesis chapter 11:25 BC. Okay? In Abraham's time, in Abraham's time. In Abraham's time, Ur was one of the great city-states in Sumer, a part of the Fertile Crescent, located from the Tigris and Euphrates River in Iraq and the Nile. Historians call this area from 3000 to 2000 BC, and this is the time frame that we have for Abraham, from 3000 to 2000 BC. You short some years, dog.
It's not, man. When you do dates, it's a range. It goes. He's from 1900 to 21. So, and if you want to stretch it to 23, which is not, it's 19 to 21. It's still E1B1A.
I can't go 19 to 21.
E1B1A is like you know, is 50, 70,000 years way before even Adam in biblical chronology would furthest that would go back is like 7,500 BC. E1B1A is at least 50,000 years older than when the first man Adam was supposed to be created. So it's just like
we don't believe
that is just ridiculous. You see what I'm saying? Like those are the ridiculous arguments y'all got to stop.
Well, we got to stop. You prove that shit. You got to prove that. You gonna make those statements.
If you don't want to accept what the science says about E1B1A, then don't even use it.
Show it.
No, we accept what science say. I just showed you what science said. You don't accept what science say. And if you don't want to accept what science say, then you should not be in our face talking to us about science, brother.
Because that's where the people are. When you talk about E1B1A and all these things,
show that shit.
You're getting that information.
I just showed it. He said 7,500 years for Adam, okay? Or even if he just said 75,000 years, either or is incorrect, okay?
According to Wikipedia, as of 2015, estimates of the age of the YMRCA range around 200,000 to 300,000 years ago, roughly consistent with the emergence of anatomically modern humans.
300,000 years ago. By definition, it is not necessary that the Y chromosome and the mitochondrial chromosome should have lived at the same time. He said it's not necessary. While estimates as of 2014 suggest the possibility that the two individuals may have been roughly contemporaneous. The discovery of the archaic Y haplogroup has pushed back the estimated age of the Y chromosome beyond the most likely age of the mitochondrial chromosome. As of 2015, estimates of the age of the Y chromosome range. That's the mitochondrial atom. I mean, my bad. That's the Y chromosome atom. Range around 200,000 to 300,000 years ago, roughly consistent with the emergence of the anatomically modern human. There is no evidence whatsoever. We talk about the mitochondrial atom. He said that's our atom goes back 70,000 years. You dig what I'm saying? Or 7,500 years. There's no chronologist. There's not one chronologist that backs that up. And I'm talking about there's no biblical chronology and there's no genetic chronology or scientific chronology. All of that is just made up misinformation.
Science,
Apostle, let me address it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man is way older than 7,000 years.
Show that.
Okay, so Let me deal with
how
this.
old man is.
Let me deal with this. You talk about science, okay? This is from a scientific article, my brother. It says the EM215 and EM335 are quite common amongst Afro-Asiatic speakers. The linguistic group that carry the EM35 lineage have a high probability to have risen and dispersed together from the Afro-Asiatic Urhamat. Amongst populations from the Afro-Asiatic speaking history, a significant portion of Jewish lineages are EM35. Haplogroup EM35, which account for approximately 18% to 20% of the Ashkenazi and 8.6 to 30% of the Sephardi chromosomes, appear to be one of the major founding lineages in the Jewish population.
Jewish, Ashkenazi, Sephardim. That's not talking about black people.
But that ain't got nothing to do with what I'm just saying. He's saying that that's not talking about black people, but all the evidence suggests that it is. So his interruption was just pointless.
Brother,
It's different from Ashkenazi.
brother, it doesn't matter.
What's the topic?
He just said that our bloodline was different from the Ashkenazi, but we just seen that at least 13 to 18% of the Ashkenazi have E1B1A, and we see that up to 30% of the Sephardi has E1B1A. So this brother doesn't know what he's talking about. And you look at the Senegalese Jews, they have 100% E1B1A. You know what I'm saying? So this brother doesn't know what he's talking about.
What's the new topic right now?
And Afro-Asiatic
What is the topic right now? What's the topic?
We're talking about.
I mean, the audience want to know the topic.
We're talking about an Afro group and lineages that derive. And first of all, when you say Afro-Asiatic, that's actually a misnomer. But if we go with
How is it a misnomer when the article I read, every time it spoke of Afro-Asiatic, it spoke of Afro-Asiatic speakers? How is that a misnomer? Not one time did they say the Afro-Asiatic people or the Afro-Asiatic land or the Afro-Asiatic DNA. It said the Afro-Asiatic speakers. And amongst the speakers, the Afro-Asiatic speakers, they counted their DNA. That's what the article suggests, and that is not a misnomer. Anybody who thinks that's a misnomer is miseducated, and that's foolishness.
When it used Afro-Asiatic, it used it along with speakers. Right. So it was used in its proper context.
And when you're reading the article, it's telling you that's talking about people who y'all say are not Jews, not the real Jews, but
No. I'm talking about an article that are talking about real Jews. You're saying that the article is not talking about real Jews, and you're saying the article is talking about a people that we don't call real Jews, and it's not. The article is talking about Ashkenazi and Sephardic people. And of the Ashkenazi people, it is saying that of the Ashkenazi Jews, it said 13% of them have E1B1A, and that's the white Jews. All of the dark Jews fall up under the Sephardim, and many of them have as much as 30%, and others have 100%. I haven't brought that evidence out just yet.
The DNA that you're using is using them, Ashkenazi and Sephardim.
It's not.
So this is what I mean by.
It's beside the point, because we're focusing on E1B1A, whom you just sat up there and said consumes over half of Africa, and it does not. But what it does signify is that many black people, a great lump, a huge lump a significant lump of black people carry the E1B1 gene, which means that it is a black man's gene, brother.
And then also when you're talking about the DNA, if you look at the
Nah, brother, when we talking about the DNA, we talking about this large percent, 20 to 30% of black African DNA that is in these Jewish people all around the world, brother.
Migration patterns, you'll see that these so-called Asiatics, a lot of them came into Africa
as black people, black Asiatics, black Afro-Asiatics. Hebrew is called Afro-Asiatic. He's trying to throw as though they're not African people or have no relation to Africa. Let me prove that wrong.
Wikipedia Britannica, Afro-Asiatic Languages Summary. It includes such languages as Arabic, Hebrew, Amharic, and Hausa.
It includes Arabic, Hebrew, Afro-Asiatic, and Hausa. It includes Arabic, Hebrew, Afro-Asiatic, and Hausa. This is from the Britannica.com. This brother, and he's talking about the Afro-Asiatic languages. It's Afro. This brother is silly.
Do invasion and mix with these people, especially the Arabs. So when you look at...
But show this where Jews invaded Africa. This is what you have to show. History where Jews invaded Africa with the E1B1A or any other Jews. Show any history of a Jewish invasion of Africa. Because when you're talking about the Battle of Chios and the Bar Kokhba revolt, these were Africans, black folks who fled Israel, came in back, the back migrations into Africa, and they were fighting white Europeans and Romans, brother. So your history is just, nothing you say matches up with history, dude.
It's when you look at Ethiopia and you look at a lot of these groups that are kind of mixed in Africa, a lot of them mix with the Arabs. And the Arabs
and the Arabs that they mixed with were black Arabs. Okay? When you go back and look at the language that they speak Himyaritic, okay? They speak Amharic and Tigrian. All of these are ancient Arabian languages that go back to Arabia. And these were the people of ancient Arabia. And when Islam came in with the new language, a brand new created language called Arabic, these Arabics with their religion, they invaded Arabia and they ran the original inhabitants out, and they went down into Yemen and into Ethiopia. And that's how they ended up in Ethiopia. The people in Ethiopia are the original Arabs that mixed in, dummy, with these black Jews. Okay, and you can look up the history of Yemenite Jews to find that out. And I'm not going to pull that up. I done already beat you too much.
Not Jews, but they have common ancestry coming from Western Asia.
But
a lot of this stuff was brought.
That's beside the point, and you shot yourself in the foot by just saying that, brother. And they were black folks. The only difference is you're trying to say that they were white, and you have no evidence of that. Okay?
Into Africa, but so when you use the term Afro-Asiatic, that's a language group and it's a misnomer.
Well, you could say that's a misnomer, but
especially when everybody speaking these languages are black.
Every time I use the term Afro-Asiatic, I use the term amongst Afro-Asiatic speakers, and I used it properly, just like the article has it. The article has it correctly. The article says that the the EM215 and the EM35 appears to be one of the major founding lineages in Jewish populations. And that is the E1B1A and the E1B1B, which you said that consumes up all of Africa, buddy.
Nah, bro, you got to read more than that about the E marker. First of all, then just take that.
Brother, I've read an extensive volume, and you've read nothing. You're just talking. Demagogic rhetoric. Brother, I have geneticists. I don't have to read more than nothing. You have to read something. And you read nothing, brother. You're just talking. There's no proof out here to back up nothing that you say.
Sentence and build.
I read a lot more than that. You want to talk about some more? You want me to dig some more into it tonight?
All right. This is what I want you to do right now. Tell the people how far back in that article, or any article you read, how far back is the E marker dated?
Razia Kwan says it goes back over 50,000 years.
Inner branches of the genealogical tree were associated with lower estimates of TMRCA. TMRCA for E1b1A as a whole was estimated at 6175-6588 YBP, with the TMRCA for the youngest haplogroup estimated at 1100 to 1638 YBP.
And YBP is years before present, to show that this brother has no clue of what he's talking about. There's no evidence to back up nothing that this man is saying. This guy has no evidence on the E markers, period, because there is no evidence to go back all these thousands and thousands of years that he's talking about. He made this stuff up and it's all lies. So we're talking about the E branches here, okay? Read that, slow it down on your own. It said the discovery of two snaps by Trombetta et al. 2011 significantly redefined the E markers, okay, tree, the EV38 specifically, the phylogenetic tree, which led the authors to suggest that the EV38 may have originated in East Africa. It's a suggestion now. The V38 joins the Western Africa affiliation of EM2 and Northern East African affiliation EM329 with an earlier common ancestor who, like EP2, may have originated in East Africa. The downstream snaps M180 may have originated on the moist southern Sahara savanna grasslands of northern Africa between 14,000 and 10,000 years ago, though none of these guys' dates match up. So it's not about what the geneticist is saying. It's about what he's saying. Every date that this brother come up with is wrong.
Okay, now, over 50,000 years.
Yeah.
What?
And he thought he had an aha moment, but he didn't. Because in any event, don't nothing match up to what he's saying.
Time period is Abraham.
Let's say you and the brother both was right to show you that it doesn't matter. Let's say 1900 to 2500 BC.
All right, now how far
it
back?
Doesn't matter.
And how far back would you, according to biblical chronology, would Adam be?
I have no idea.
You don't have no idea. 7,500 at best, sir.
No,
Well, that's a lie. 7,500 at best. I mean, but there's no biblical chronology that even says that the earth is 7,500 years old. See, what this guy's doing is just making up stuff. There's no biblical chronology. There's no geological chronology. There's no archaeological chronology. There's nothing out here to back up that Adam or man or anybody in that Bible is 7,500 years old. That is a lie.
500 at best, sir.
Okay, but that's what you say.
No, that's biblical chronology, bro.
Okay,
if you talk about biblical scholarship, if you
Well, that's not biblical chronology, and that's not biblical scholarship. I'm going to prove that.
Follow any type of scholars of biblical chronology dating Bible times, Adam at the best is 7,500, sir. And
Okay.
they know that that's going from
let me
the
prove
time
this a
they
lie.
could date Solomon and then dating people's ages and all type of, stuff like that. There's something called biblical chronology. Adam is 7,500 at best. And this is the...
No, that is a lie. Let's prove that wrong.
The culture clash.
Don't then that's just stupid. And an obscure sage, basing himself on no source but the Bible, Rabbi Joseph ben Halafta, who lived in the 2nd century BCE, sat down and did the math.
And this is the person would Adam be.
I have no idea.
You don't have no idea. 7,500 at best, sir.
No, well,
7,500 at best, sir.
Okay, but that's what you say.
So that's biblical chronology,
No, it's
bro.
not.
Okay,
if you
but
talk about
you made
biblical
that up.
scholarship, if you follow any type of scholars of biblical chronology, dating
Lex Vortex
Bible times, Adam at the best is 7,500, sir.
Stop
and
lying.
they know that that's going from the time they could date Solomon and then dating people's ages and all type of stuff like that. There's something called biblical chronology.
That's not
Adam
biblical
is
chronology.
7,500 at
We
best.
just proved that a lie.
This is the person that you claim that you all would descend from. Then you talk about the E marker. That's 50,000. So
can you tell me
how
which chronology?
So if the E, brother, hold on. I know it hurts sometimes.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
So if we're talking about an E marker that goes back 50,000, there's no way you could be associating that marker with saying it's a Jewish marker. If anything, they would have inherited it from an older people, and then there's something called mixing and migration. But either way, the marker is way older than anyone in your Bible. So it doesn't make any sense to try to use the E marker as some type of Jewish DNA, and then it includes the people who you say are not even Jews, which are the...
You like to say it go back over Abraham, or that it goes back over Adam, okay? You like to say this, but you have no proof or no dates for these men. All your dates is wrong. All your evidence is wrong. You know what I'm saying? Everything you said about history was wrong. Everything you said about genetics was wrong. Everything you said about chronology was wrong, brother. It's nothing but demagogic rhetoric.
Ashkenazi and the Sephardim.
Okay, man. You did a lot of gish galloping there, okay?
No, that's not gish galloping, sir.
Yes, it is, brother.
You know what gish galloping is?
Yes.
Yeah, I know what gish galloping is. It's not only gish galloping. It is a lack of cultural relativity. It is a lack of moral relativity. It is filled with logical fallacies. It's gish gallop. And last but not least, again, it is demagogic rhetoric. That's all it is, brother.
It is. Yes.
I was very specific.
When you spread a barrage of half-truths.
You was very specific with your lies, brother.
do it no more, bro.
It's when you spread a barrage of half-truths and lies.
No, that's not what galloping
to try to overwhelm. Educational purposes, teach you how to spot a gaslighter.
Check out the link. Gish gallop is a debate tactic where you overwhelm your conversation partner with a barrage of half-truths and misleading arguments in rapid succession.
Gish gallop.
The gish gallop exploits the fact that it's easier and less time-consuming to produce a flurry of lies than it is to refute each of those lies one by one. And in the confines of most interviews, it's practically impossible. And even if you refute 99 out of 100 arguments, the gish galloper can always point to the one argument you didn't and claim victory. To an untrained audience, the volume and rapidity of information will make the gish galloper seem authoritative. But to a savvy crowd, the tactic is nakedly dishonest. In fact, it's considered so disingenuous that in formal debates, judges limit the number of points a debater can raise to prevent just this problem. The thing is, all of us have been guilty of a watered-down version of this tactic. If you've ever found yourself speaking in heated paragraphs about your favorite political issue, you've likely bombarded your listeners with more points than they can keep track of. Remember, conversations work best when points are kept as succinct as possible, and everyone can follow the plot.
Brother, that is gish gallop, brother. You gish gallop like a motherfucker.
To overwhelm, try to overwhelm the person that you're talking to, hoping that he have a hard time unpacking all of this gish gallop.
Bro,
that
you think
threw
that was
out.
a lot? I said a couple of things. I
know it was.
I
know it was.
It's not gish galloping. If I asked you, I said.
But it's gish gallop because it's a barrage of half-truths and lies. That's what makes it gish gallop. All right.
How old does the E marker go back? You said over 50,000 years. So that's not gish galloping. That's
No, I said Razib Khan said that, but you said a different number than that. So you're wrong, buddy. You're putting out the information and you're wrong. Okay, and it's simple as that.
Asking you a specific question and you answered. Then I asked you, how old is Abraham? What time period? Then I asked you, how far would Adam go back according to biblical chronology? How the hell is that?
And you was wrong with that. All of the questions that you asked me, the 50,000 years, you was wrong with that. Okay, you said something like 10 or something like that. You whatever you said, you was wrong with that. And then you talked when you came with the chronology of Adam. You was wrong with that. Come on, let's see what else you wrong with.
Gish galloping. That's all in order.
It don't matter the order, brother. It's a barrage of half-truths and lies, dog. And that's what makes it gish gallop.
And on point.
Okay, well, I'll unpack that. When
you don't have to unpack it.
Well, I do.
I do have to unpack it. So, and if you won't let me, then I'll take it home and unpack it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what you don't want me to do. Unpack your bullshit. It's a bunch of what makes it gish gallop. It is a barrage of half-truths and lies, bro. Ain't none of that shit the truth.
Let him respond.
I do. Okay. When you talk about this book here being with this chronology, okay, you're talking about like there's one set chronology that scholars agree upon, okay? You got the chronology that was done by Dionysius Eusebius. You have the chronology that was done by Rabbi Yosef ben Halifta. You have the chronology that was done by Moses Maimonides, and you have the chronology that was done by James Usher.
And none of them match up to what you got to say.
All of these men differ. And you have several other chronologists, and every person who has ever tried to chronologize the Bible has came up different, brother.
Exactly.
And ain't none of them came up with your 7,500-year at best lie.
That's easy because there's not an exact science. That's why they give you periods. So yeah.
No, but there was nothing even close to 500 years, brother. Not even an approximate, brother. You were way off by thousands of years.
They differ. Some people, like I said, like earlier, Apostle said 2300 BC. So the time period would be 1900 from 2300 BC. That's where they would differ in terms of. But there's, you tell me the chronologists.
No, they differ between 2000 BC and 3000 BC, not 19 and 2300. Where's you getting your false information from, bro? It's all recorded on the tape. Everything you said was a fucking lie, dog.
Who puts the Bible at 50,000 years ago?
Didn't nobody put the Bible at 50,000 years ago. You just making up stuff as you go. And that's scholarly? Nigga, that's ignorance and stupidity. And it's nothing more than, like I said, demagogic rhetoric.
I really don't know, because most
there
of
ain't none, bro. That's what
right. That's what I'm finna say. I don't know, because I haven't found nobody who went that far back. But
and you haven't either. And so why did you bring that up out there like I'm some kind of stupid or dummy or something? That's a point just wasted, brother. Come on, let's talk about something with some substance, bro. That don't make you sound good. It make you sound stupid. Make you sound like you reaching, bro.
I haven't found none of these biblical chronologists went far back to 7,000 years like you did. Yeah. But none of these men who I've mentioned.
You well, tell me what
This nigga say, what? Well, the proof is, like I said, none of the men that I mentioned, and the evidence is right here on this recording. And for everybody to see, none of the men that I mentioned go back 7,500 years at best. 7,500 years is reaching, brother. You reaching in the air for nothing, brother. It's nothing there. Well, everything you say is like a big ball of fluffy ass pot cotton candy. It looks like you got something, but when you bite into it, you'll find that there's nothing there, brother. Everything you say is just fluff until you bite into it. When you bite into it, you'll find nothing there.
You read.
None of these. I've read.
Hold on, brother. No, not that put Adam further. What time date in the chronologies you read that they put Adam at?
Moses. Okay, in the Jewish time, I think that this is something like what?
Moses Maimonides is a Jew, not a black Jew either.
What difference do it make, brother? We looking at the chronology.
You,
I don't give a damn if he was a green Martian from the planet Risk, nigga. We talking about the chronology, brother. Your chronology is wrong.
Of these people that I mentioned, the earth is not even 6,000 years old by none of these people's standards. So for you to say 7,000 years, none of the biblical chronologists that I've ever read even went that far back.
Well, you're not that rich.
And then you go as far as talking about
Adam.
You go as far as talking about this DNA, and there's no Jewish DNA. There's an element of truth and reality to that, because the Jews, if the Jews started with Isaac, okay, Jacob, okay, if it started with Jacob, then Isaac was not a Jew, and Jacob had that same DNA, and then his father had that same DNA, and Abraham had that same, and none of those people were Jews. But what I'm trying to tell you is that in the Levant, from Africa all the way throughout the entire Levant, all the way down to Southwest Asia, the E1B, and in Africa, north and west and east, okay, and certain pockets of the Bantu-speaking areas in the south, you dig what I'm saying? All of these people share the same genetic DNA, brother.
Yeah, there is, exactly. There's a common, that's why it's called DNA in areas where people populate and mix and migrate or whatever. That's what I'm saying, but it is a general genetic marker. There's no specific people that's tied. Many different people are tied to that. But when you're talking about it, you can't associate it in any way and say, well, this is Israelite DNA.
You can. When you go amongst Berber-speaking people Israelite practicing people and they all carry this DNA marker, then you can say that. So the thing that this brother was tripping about, trying to say that Abraham, the marker is older than Abraham, is ridiculous, because what the brother Razil Kwan said is that the evidence suggests very recent migrations of E1B1A. So if Razil Kwan says that the evidence suggests very recent E1B1A, there's no reason to go back to the Bronze Age. That's just ridiculous, stupid, and it's reaching. It's reaching pointlessly. All you have to do is go back to the era that the Jews were in that land, and you'll pinpoint E1B1A and E1B1B amongst those people. Okay, so and that is the E1B1A marker. I got evidence, and I proved all of that. So this brother just lost tremendously.
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you, especially when it goes, especially when.
All I'm stating, Lex, I get where you're going. Okay, I get that. I went through all that to show you that I'm not no dummy. But
I don't think you're a dummy, brother.
I didn't affix myself to the Mozabites. My genetic testing did.
All right, so I'm just saying, in the bigger picture, any Israelite.
You're not saying nothing, bro.
Listening, please stop trying to use E1B1A.
Israelites listening, use the E1B1A just like how I suggested, because that's how it went down.
It makes you sound ignorant. Like there's just some basic.
No, it doesn't. What makes you sound ignorant is when you have no evidence to back up what you're saying, like what this brother says. Everything that he said is wrong. And it's all right to sound ignorant if you're not ignorant. This guy wants to sound like he's intelligent, you know what I'm saying, and don't know nothing. What you call that is an ultra-crepidarian. You dig what I'm saying? An ultra-crepidarian, one who likes to speak outside of his level of expertise. That's what that is.
Like it's
much bigger than
there's
Israel.
No DNA like that where you can tie it to a group of people called Israelites. Because there are people who have E1B1A who have nothing to do with the Israelite culture.
Yes.
Right, and then there's those who have E1B1A, E1B1B, and a large percent of them do. Almost all of them who have it does.
It's bigger than Israelites, but it includes the Israelites.
Okay, you can say that.
Right, and many of them, like we stated, it includes the Israelite. There's Babylonians, there's Sumerians, there's Cushites. You dig what I'm saying? There's Phoenicians. You dig what I'm saying? There's Israelites. There's even certain Arab tribes that have the E1B1A marker. So yes, it's bigger than Israel, like I'm trying to tell you, but it includes Israel and the marker and the people and the area and all of that pinpoint Israel is on point, brother, historically.
I would say it includes people that come out of the Levant. If you want to say that would include Arabs, that would include.
Well, you would want to say that because that's what the intellectual Yasha Ben Yishrael said. You would want to sound intelligent saying what I said.
You know,
Babylonians,
all type of people,
Sumerians,
that come out of the Levant.
Yeah,
I don't know about. I don't. So that's mixing. But what's the original marker?
We don't need the original marker. We don't need the original marker. We need the marker that pinpoints us as Israelites. That's what we need, brother. And that's what you keep trying to wipe away. And that's what you keep trying to gaslight. And I won't allow you, brother. And we got it. That's what we need. And that's what we got.
The reason why when you try to use DNA, it conflicts with the Bible, okay? Because if you have Ham, Shem, and...
But it does not. What you're saying conflicts with the Bible, brother. Every biblical chronologist, not nan one of them ever, said that Adam go back 7,500 years at best, bro.
Japheth, which are your three patriarchs that so-called populated the earth, then Ham, Shem, and Japheth would have inherited Noah's Y chromosome. They all would have had the same Y chromosome.
Dummy, All humans have the same Y chromosome, and it goes back 200,000 to 300,000 years, and it's called the Y chromosome atom, sir. Not just those people have it, all human beings today have it, brother. Haven't you read the evidence, brother? Actually, you haven't.
Right? And when you study DNA, you have mutations over time. So now you got all these different people that come from Ham, Shem, and Japheth. They don't have enough time in biblical chronology to
prove that, brother. Prove that. Everything you said so far has been lies, brother, including this.
To get the variations we have today. That's how we know the DNA goes back a certain amount of time. You trace the timeline and the migrations, and it goes way beyond the biblical narrative.
But I don't use DNA.
So we know that the biblical narrative is not real history.
I don't use
my phone
DNA.
dying. I'm gonna switch phones.
I don't use DNA to harp and to throw in people's face, but when people ask me questions like you just did, like what was my connection to that, and I would say my connection is my DNA, and my DNA says that I am a Mozabite. I descend from the Mozabite people, and whether I chose to have taken it to want to if I wanted to express my African culture, my African history, look back into my heritage, whether I decided to choose Islam or Judaism, which were the religions that we know that they practiced, I have the right to do that. And that would be my connection.
So now it's African? So
yes, because it's from Africa.
Yeah, but people migrated into Africa, though.
Yeah, and been there for thousands of years.
Okay.
You know, you separate the people from Africa. You know what I'm saying? But the Africans don't separate the North Africans from them. You do, but they don't.
Which one of the Mozabite people speak Hebrew?
The Jews.
The Mozabite Jews, probably. I don't know much about their particular heritage and their particular practices.
Zanati, bro. From the Zanati.
It's irrelevant, and I'm gonna show you why that's irrelevant that they speak Zenati. Because they speak Zenati, the historical evidence suggests, my friend, that the Zenata Berbers, brother, the Senhajas, were black practicing Jews, brother. Everywhere you turn, you can't get around it.
Language, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just a lot of.
Yeah, they speak the Zenati language. Yeah, and I read that.
So this is what I'm saying.
Because they're Zenhaja Berber.
But it's pointless that you bring that up, because those Senhaja Berbers were Jews.
They descend from the Senhaja Berbers. But at the same time, they do speak Arabic. Arabic is the lingua franca for certain. Now, whether they speak Hebrew or not, someone would have to if they're reading from the Tanakh. I'm sure they're not reading from the King James.
Hey, y'all, what up? This is Yasha Ben Yishrael. All right. I got a book here for you, old book. I had this book, man, for years, man. I've had this book 20, 30 years, man. I've had it a long time. This book is called The Golden Age of the Moors. You can see it's edited by Ivan van Sertima. It's a book by many different by many different authors. It's a compilation work. This here, it's an autograph. Says to Yasha Ben Yishrael by Renoko Rashidi, January 1st, 2017. Okay. I want to read something here. Move it out the way there. And this chapter is called The Moors in Antiquity by James E. Brunson and Renoko Rashidi.
Scholars.
Which is the guy who signed the autograph. I want to go to page 60. Look at some of the artwork here. Black Moors and Arabs confronting Christians. But that's a 350 AD. So you got the black Moors and Arabs here, blacks, all black folks. And they're confronting Christians here. Now, for those who says that the Jews never existed, there was never a people in history called the Jews or anything like that, let me read some of the work of great real scholars like James Bronson and Renoko Rashidi. The Senhaja Berbers of the Western Sahara were composed of both sedentary people and nomads, including amongst the nomad Senhaja were the Lamta and Lamtuna Berbers, which are black folks. The Senhaja, known as the Malatuman, or the people of the Veil, were responsible for the second significant Moorish invasion of El Andalus, the Arabic name for Islamic Spain. It is said that the Sanhaja were the people that was responsible for the second invasion of Spain, El Andalus. In 1095 AD, the Sanhaja Berbers initiated the Almoravid dynasty. I told y'all it was the Jews who called in the Arabs. It was the Jews that ran the Moorish Empire, and they called in the Arabs for help. You dig? The Sanhaja Berbers, again, initiated the Almoravid dynasty. The Almoravid dynasty was called the Empire of the Two Shores. It lasted 100 years and stretched from the Senegal River to the west, in West Africa, to the Ebro River in the northern Spain. There has been much discussion and speculation about the Sanhaja face mufflers. In Islamic Spain, the veil was considered a privilege of the true Almoravids, and its wearing was forbidden to all but the Sanhaja. It was something like a uniform or distinctive dress of the ruling class, according to Ibn Hokel. Since the day they were created, their faces have never been seen, unless it be their eyes. This is because they muffle their faces when they are young, and they grow up with that custom. According to al-Bukhari, in 1078 AD, there were amongst the Sanhaja Berbers blacks professing Judaism. According to al-Bukhari, in 1078 AD, there were amongst the Sanhaja Berbers blacks professing Judaism. Bronson Rashidi. According to al-Bukhari, 1078 AD, there were amongst the Sanhaja Berbers blacks professing Judaism. These blacks were referred to as the Balfour. The Balfour practiced Judaism before they were overcome and absorbed by the Almoravids.
See, people? I'm done with these cats. These niggas don't know what they talking about. They ain't ready for red. They ain't ready for Yasha Moreh, Yasha Ben Yishrael. They can't see me.
Oh, man.
You don't have to. You can't even practice real Judaism without it.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, you can't be known. You can't even be respected amongst the Jewish circles. Like the Jewish circle respect the people from North Africa as Jews, and they wouldn't respect them if they wouldn't keep a halakha. And you can't keep halakha without a basic under somebody in your community having a basic. Several people in your community having a basic understanding of the Hebrew language. It don't work like that, bro.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, it just don't work like that.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you. There's definitely no doubt today there's people who practice the Jewish faith in Africa. I mean, it is not African in nature. It was brought into Africa. That's clear, because we can tell from African cultures, true African cultures have certain tenets in their spiritual practices.
Yeah.
And they are in total opposition to that Asiatic culture that was brought in there.
But all the tenets that all of the five, actually you said 4 tenets, then you said 3. You never did say the 5 tenets ever. But out of all of the 4 tenets at best, which you said, Israel contained them all at one point, and then they became monotheistic. And we have that on part 1 and 2.
The history says that, and it comes from the Levant, you know. You're not
So
telling
that's
no
what
lie.
I'm saying.
I don't attack the truth.
When we say African, right?
You do. You attack truth, buddy. I don't attack truth. So, and the reason why I don't attack truth, because you're agreeing with what I'm saying. Why would I attack when you start agreeing with what I'm saying, brother? You understand what I'm saying? See, what you're doing is you can't beat them, join them tactic. You see?
I see African culture, and there's a golden thread in African culture. And there's mainly 5 points that you're going to find, no matter what they...
It's also called the Hegelian dialectic. That's what he's trying to do. That's why he starts to agree with me. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to perform the Hegelian dialectic. I'll do a video about that later.
Call it from whether they from the Zulus, Egypt, Ifa, Yoruba. All these people are going to have that ancestral worship, ancestor veneration. They're going to have nature veneration, the science of plants. They're going to have that, and they're going to have that pantheon of gods that are represented, ultimately is symbolized in the forces of nature.
You're
You're
right.
going to find that in all African culture.
Well, I don't know about all, but
Asiatic Jewish culture is in total opposition. That's how we know that it came in and influenced people in Africa, because they always attack African culture. If it was African, they wouldn't have had no need, and you don't see any other African culture attacking another African culture just because of differences in their spiritual beliefs. The whole Bible.
Brother, you see that going on all the time. Even until this day, you see Africans attacking Africans for every reason under the sun, including spiritual beliefs, brother. This is the silly, disingenuous, demagogic bullshit. It's just rhetoric.
History is shrouded with that, but history is shrouded with that.
Asiatic, in the Arabs, the Jews, and all these people that came out of Levant into Africa were hostile toward Africans for their belief systems.
That's not true.
I don't know about that, because the Israelites, I don't see.
That's not true, because Christianity got its birth in Africa. The Bible was canonized in Morocco, Carthage. You know, it was canonized at the Conference of Hippo and the Conference of Carthage. You know what I'm saying? The Bible was basically created in Africa. The religion, all of the forefathers, the earliest forefathers of Christianity got their root in North Africa. So how could, and they were not fighting against none of those people. Those people were fighting against the Romans and white folks. So this guy don't know what he's talking about.
Them being Israelites and are using or adopting anything from anybody else's belief system.
Exactly. That's what you're missing.
I don't want to talk about that.
So if that's exactly, why are you saying it?
I don't want to talk about that. What I want to ask you is, are you familiar with the Banu offerings?
But hold on, you said you don't want to talk about it, but that's my whole point, though. That if you look at the culture clash, the Bible is not African, because it has a hatred for African culture.
Okay.
And we see these people coming to Africa, the Muslims, the Jews, the Christians, all these people, they have they say they're heathens, they worship this and this and that. It's a total cultural clash. And y'all do not realize that.
Okay.
You're taking on a culture
I realize
that wants to kill you for your original culture. And even the Bible shows you their mentality towards indigenous people and their culture. And that's why Joshua and them boys are told to wipe out those Cushites and wipe out these people, because
I realize that you're filled with demagogic rhetoric.
They heathens, and they don't believe in your mountain god.
I haven't read nowhere where Joshua told them to wipe out the Cushites anywhere, but I'll say this.
Oh, that's the end of that. I got the rest of this stuff on footage already, y'all. All right, that's it. It's going up. Part 3.